Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods. We're going to try to do a twofer. We got to do some work to the van, and we're going to prepare the Mustang for the front suspension welding that needs to happen to it. Truthfully, the van and the Mustang both need front end alignments because they both need front end work. And that's what we're going to do. Here's why. I need to drive one of these two vehicles to the middle of Florida. But I got like 2 weeks. But that goes by pretty fast once you start taking a car apart. Suddenly you realize you have to order something. And then the next thing you know, you get involved in a new series on Netflix. And holy crap, you got to jam it together at the last minute. So we're going to try to avoid that. And we're going to get the van ready to go to Florida, and we're going to get the Mustang ready to go to Florida to double our chances that we'll have something ready to go to Florida when it's time to go to Florida. Did I mention we're going to Florida? We're going to go to Florida. They both need to be mechanically, well, not perfect, but mechanically dependable. And they both need to be cleaned front to back, inside and out. What else? Lights. I want to make sure all the lights work because the van, I had to rig it up. I'll show you. It's pretty funny. And what else? I think what we'll do is upgrade both the vehicles to all LED bulbs so that they will last for 10 years. No, we're just going to fix up what we got and make sure that we can see going down the road, turn and stop. That's enough, believe me. All right, cue the music. All right, let's see if we can get a look at this broken, cracked, minorly cracked frame business from the top also. And, I put that C-clamp on there to test drive it, and it's gone. How about that? So we're probably going to need to go ahead and yank the radiator out of this thing to get to the welds on the top and the back side. I don't know how I'm going to get that on the back side, but I'll get it. And if it's welded on the top and the front and the bottom, I think chances are good it'll hold okay. And then whenever I pull the engine for whatever reason, because I blew it up, then we can do whatever's next. Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods one more time again. If this is your welcome back, if you've been here before, welcome for the first time if you haven't. Either way, you're welcome. Take 22. There's a couple of problems with this thing. Mainly, there's a cross member that steering component's attached to that is completely broken from one side. It might have been that way for years. It definitely, the steering has a mind of its own, and this explains some of that. That's the big thing. So let's make a list, shall we? Weld the frame back together. It also has, for some reason, egregious belt tension on the serpentine belt. So we're going to see if we can alleviate that problem. Belt tension. And what else we got here? It's got a minor oil leak. This engine has unknown miles on it. It came used out of a GT Mustang from the 90s. It is in fact a good candidate for some of those magical oil stop leak additives. We might try one of those. It's pretty minor though. I'll just put oil leak with a question mark to see if we're even going to try to address that or build a whole new engine at another time. Unbelievably, those three things are really the only things that keep it from being a daily driver. It would be nice, however, to waterproof it because the rear glass does leak, so we'll put waterproof. Because the idea is to prepare this thing for a trip to Florida, and as you know, it rains in Florida frequently. We got so waterproof the back glass, and then this thing has all the components in place for conditioned air. I don't know if the cooling fan has sufficient CFM draw to idle in traffic with the air blasting cold for a long period of time. There's really no reason we couldn't charge the system up, make sure it doesn't leak, and have air conditioning, as long as you're driving down the highway. That would make this, because it's a black interior and the sun really does bake on it. So that's not a bad idea. Let's just put air conditioning also. It's only 5 things. Shouldn't take us more than 5 minutes. All right? And there we have it. So we're going to pull the radiator, which means we pull the coolant overflow, which is usually pretty simple on one of these. Yep. Not a problem. And then we'll take loose the upper and lower transmission cooler lines, then the upper and lower radiator hoses. This radiator comes out with 2 self-tapper screws. It's probably not the most secure mounting. We might augment that a bit while we have it out and tighten up the radiator a little bit. Then we're also going to address how incredibly tight this serpentine belt is. I don't know if it would be better to run a smog pump pulley, like an eliminator pulley, because all I did was find a belt that would fit, but I could also clock this tensioner a little bit. Anyway, we're going to address that, hopefully. Why can I not? Why is this not? How do you? Got it. Oh, it's full of good coolant, but it has been there for a little while, so I don't think we're going to reuse it. There's a good bit of sediment and rusty, cruddy junk in it. If it was fresh, I'd reuse it, but we'll see how it looks when it comes out of the thing. The thing about ethylene glycol is if it sits for a long time, it sort of becomes corrosive to aluminum parts, and will eat up water pumps and bearings, etc. Where am I going to put this stuff? This is the radiator, and it's got a drain right here. And it looks like I should be able to just crack it loose with a pair of pliers. There we go. Catch basin and slip that on to this, I don't know, I guess nipple is the correct word. And we will just see if coolant starts to flow out. Look at that. Coming right on out. Yeah, sure, it'll take a minute. But what, are you in a hurry? You get paid by the hour? I guess it's gonna be fine. First thing I'll do is pull this coolant reservoir out of the way. It's a good design. It's just got these two tabs that slips into the bottom, but it had or rather has a spot for a bolt to hold it in place here on the fan shroud, but apparently that is missing. And the lid is also missing, and I'd like to remedy that because you don't need dirt in your system. Regular viewers may know that I'm a thrifty cat when it comes to tools, and you know, some might argue that I'm downright cheap. But if you ever do brake lines or transmission lines, or you know, essentially lines, these are called line wrenches. Well, they're actually called flare nut wrench, but they have this extra little enclosure, and I'm telling you, it makes such a difference on lines, which is obviously what they're designed for. What I'm doing now is determining what's the right size. Because this has an adapter on it, I don't want that adapter to move out of the transmission, so I'm putting a little tension on it when I break loose the other line fitting, which will be right here, like so. And the next thing to come off is going to be this upper radiator hose. And I like to use a socket on these clamps, and just to make things simple, I just slide them back a little bit on the hose and just snug them back up so they don't slide off and hit the ground, and just slide it up. Snug that back down a little bit, and that won't get lost. Now listen, I know I've mentioned these things before, but I got a set of these things, and much like those line wrenches, it's one of those tools that I was surprised how much I use it. You slip it in there and give it a little business like that, and it breaks the hose loose from the seal that these things develop over time to what they're wrapped around, and you can get them in different locations. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of these. It doesn't have to be the Craftsman brand. You can go to the Harbor Freight brand. I don't care. These things come in handier than I thought they would. If you're doing mechanic work, I would pick up a set of these because I've used them more than I thought I would. Let's get rid of these self-tappers real quick. Microphone's working. Time for a little inspection of the engine area. I didn't mention it, but the Mustang is equipped with an electric fan, which we will go look at. So disconnecting the fan was as easy as unplugging it because the safety catch is broken anyway. Used to have a clutch fan bolted to it at some point, I think. Just going to show you the fan setup. This is the radiator. This is the original fan shroud, and I just retrofit hurriedly a spout fan in here, but it doesn't fit great. I think I may pull the shroud off, put some tape on here, and spray foam up these gaps so that the shroud is working as effectively as possible, especially since we're considering firing up this air conditioning system. Take 22. This serpentine belt is configured like this, and the tensioner is at the end of its travel right here, and the thing is really tighter than it should be. So what I may do is disassemble that, clock it into a different position, and get a shorter belt so the tensioner is pushing on it correctly, not at the very end of its throw where it's. Also need to clean the AutoZone Special filter. This is what it's supposed to look like a tab that is attached right here, and this side it is a tab that is torn away. So I'm thinking we're definitely going to be taking loose this steering piece. I don't even know what this thing is called. You see, it's almost in the same position as it started in, but the belt was really tight, so we're going to figure that puzzle out. What a mess. Oh, well, you're still here. Okay. I like to think that I'm working on a car and working on a video at the same time. That didn't do it. I'm so glad I'm videoing this huge embarrassing failure. All right, it's time to discuss what's the opposite of AI? Artificial intelligence, authentic stupidity. That's what I got. So I'm going to get on the Googleizer and figure out what the thing on the steering is called. Yes, I don't know what it's called. It's some kind of a rod. Then I'll come back, I'll tell you what they're called, and we will execute the procedure for removing them. Strut to the frame. It's called a strut rod. You know, when I'm working on an old car, it's time to break out the Penetro 90 by Schaefer's. It's as good as any other penetrating oil, but it contains molybdenum. Looking in penetrating oil, let's see if they break loose without too much trouble. They're 1-inch bolts, so, oh, that's not bad. But it is moving. All right. Oh yeah. Let me see if I've got a wiggle socket that size. I'll probably bring the volume way down so it sounds like a purring kitten instead of a loud impact socket in your ear. I'm going to go ahead and spray the nuts that hold the other end on with the Penetro 90. Let that be soaking in. Got the nuts off this and take the washers. I've sprayed this part down with the penetrating oil. You remove these two nuts and the strut rod will come loose, and then we'll be able to clean, clamp, and weld that up. It occurs to me that this oil leak, as minor as it is, that's all it leaks after it's run, will really be a way to gradually change the oil. You just put on a fresh quart every 20th time you drive it, maybe. I don't know. Let's see here. So I went to Summit, and Energy Suspension makes urethane bushings for the strut rod end here. And so I started looking around, and I thought, these look terrible. I don't see that I could not go ahead and change out. These don't look so bad, but these are so rock hard and crunchy. The upshot is, I think I figured out a way to spend more money. I can go ahead and get a bushing kit that comes with these bushings. Look at this. That poor thing. New sway bar end link bushings, new strut rod bushings, and it'll probably come with the bushings for the upper and lower arms here. I guess that's an A arm. I'm not sure what they call this because it's not shaped like an A, maybe in a lowercase L arm. I'm not sure. So I think that's what we'll do, is just order a full urethane bushing kit that will also come with the bushings for the leaf springs, because they are crunchy as well. Near as I can tell, all this stuff is stock from 1971. These are rather split and crunchy. So even if we don't change all of them, we will have all of them. And this would not take very long to swap out. So we'll go ahead and do these bushings, and these bushings at the very least on this, well, on the next episode. Because strong back retraction. Call out for max Q. All right. One of the things about this particular vehicle found it. Yeah. Feels like I'm trying to hump it into submission, but I assure you that I'm just trying to remove it. Okay. None of these bearings seem to have a significant amount of play. Everything moves pretty smoothly. That sounds fine. Oh, how about that? Pumps water right out onto the floor. The water pump's working. Should we get black bushings, or should we get fancy and get the red ones? I don't think any of them would show just driving around, so I don't know why we wouldn't get the red ones. It would look cooler. We would know which ones were urethane and which ones were not. To add to the dilemma, both of the Made in USA Energy Suspension Hyperflex bushing kits for this vehicle, the one that comes in black is $149 as of this taping from Summit Racing. But the one that comes in red is $149. Add to cart. I'm not going to tell you which color we're getting. You will have to wait and see. That'll be in the next episode. That's what we in the business call a cliffhanger. All right. How do I have 9 things in my cart? That can't be. I love the van. All right, here we go. Here's the list for the van to get it ready for Florida. All these are not crucial. We could jump in and make it right now, in other words. We need to put the tags on it. They're in the back somewhere. Should probably get some front tires. These are getting bald. Should probably get an alignment after I fix whatever's going on with the suspension. I want to fix the stereo, put a little junk in the trunk. Put the dash back together. This one should be higher on the list. It's got a leak when it rains a lot and it drips in. We're gonna fix that. Clean it. That should be way down at the end of the list. Mirror cover. This thing on the other side is not on the other side. The headlight switch. I had to rig the headlights up. I'll show you in the next episode probably. Air conditioning would be nice. It's complete. It's on here. It's just not charged up and working. Fog lights. I have a new set of these fog lights, these ridiculous fog lights that are everywhere. So they will be more like the original A-Team van. And these are all broken and not working pretty much. I need to adjust the window on the driver's side. It's hard to crank it up and down. And oh, I had this idea for the floor. It says snap floor. Listen, the carpet in this thing is all jacked up, and I want to recarpet it because it's torn from loading stuff in it. But I'm going to recarpet it, but then cover that with these snap together rubber thing, and we'll cut them to fit. So basically we'll have the full thing as a non-slip cargo mat that you can then remove when you want to put additional seating, you know, if you're using it for human transport rather than cargo and tasks. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. I'll see you next Friday with more progress, more parts coming in this week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.